The ground shook with another explosion, sending dust and rocks into the air. Owen Harris pressed himself against the broken wall, his medical pack heavy on his back. The sounds of gunfire echoed across the barren landscape like deadly thunder. He had been a combat medic for 3 years, but this battle felt different. More desperate, more final. The Drolth warriors were trapped. Everyone knew it. The human coalition had pushed them back to this worthless moon, cutting off their supply lines and reinforcements. Command said the war would be over in days. Owen just wanted it to be over now. He ran forward when the shooting paused, following his squad through the ruins of what used to be a mining settlement. Bodies lay scattered across the gray dirt. Some wore human armor. Others had the distinctive scaled skin and battle gear of the Drolth. Owen tried not to look at their faces. Dead was dead, no matter which side they fought for. His radio crackled. The lieutenant was screaming orders, something about pushing to the eastern ridge. Owen barely heard him. His job was simple. Keep the soldiers alive. Patch them up. Send them back to fight or back to the ships. Do it again tomorrow. A crater appeared ahead, maybe 20 meters wide. The result of some heavy weapon neither side should have been using. Owen's squad moved around it, but something made him stop. A sound, weak and pained. He turned his head, listening, there, in the crater. Movement. Owen slid down the loose dirt, ignoring the shouts from his squad mates. His boots hit the bottom, and he saw it. A young Drolth soldier, half buried in rubble. The reptilian scales were pale green, lighter than the adults he had seen. Blood pooled beneath the small body. So much blood. The Drolth's eyes opened, yellow and bright, filled with pain and fear. It tried to move, to reach for a weapon that was not there. The effort made it cry out, a sound that was too human, too much like a child. Owen dropped to his knees. His hands moved on their own, trained by countless emergencies. He pulled his pack around, grabbing supplies. The Drolth was young, very young, maybe the equivalent of 15 or 16 in human years. A kid, just a damn kid. Easy, Owen said, knowing the Drolth could not understand. I've got you. Just stay still. The bleeding came from the left side. Shrapnel wounds, deep and ragged. Owen cut away the damaged armor plating, exposing the injury. The Drolth hissed, showing rows of sharp teeth. Fear, not aggression. Owen had seen that look before in human patients. The look that said they knew they were dying. Not today, Owen muttered. He packed the wound with quick clot foam, the specialized medical compound that worked on most carbon-based species. His instructors had drilled it into every medic. Life is life. Even enemy life had value once they were wounded and helpless. The gunfire above was getting closer. Owen ignored it. He started in 4-line, pumping synthetic blood into the young Drolth's system. The kid was going into shock, pulse too fast, breathing shallow. Owen worked faster, his fingers steady despite the chaos. Something changed. The shooting stopped, not slowly, all at once. The sudden silence was louder than the battle had been. Owen looked up. Drolth warriors stood at the crater's edge. 5 of them. 6. More coming. Their weapons were lowered, but not dropped. They stared at him with those bright yellow eyes. None of them fired that on the other side. Human soldiers appeared. His squad. Others from different units. They had their rifles raised, aimed at the Drolth. Aimed at Owen too, probably by accident. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Owen turned back to his patient. The young Drolth was watching him with wide eyes. One scaled hand reached out, shaking, and grabbed Owen's wrist. The grip was weak, but desperate. You're okay, Owen said softly. I promise. You're going to be okay. He did not know if the words meant anything to the Drolth, but the tone seemed to help. The young soldier's breathing slowed slightly. The panic in those yellow eyes faded just a little. Heavy footsteps on the crater's slope. Owen tensed but kept working. A massive Drolth warrior descended, each step careful. This one was huge, covered in scars, and wearing the marks of high rank. The warrior's scales were dark green, almost black. Battle-hardened, deadly. The warrior stopped 3 meters away. Looked at Owen. Looked at the young Drolth. Something passed across that alien face. Something Owen recognized even across species. Horror, grief, love. Shul, the warriors said. The word was rough, forced through a throat not made for human sounds. A name. The young Drolf Shul turned their head. Drathkor, they whispered in their own language. Owen kept his hands visible, kept working. He secured the forebag to a piece of debris and checked Shul's vitals again. Better. Still critical, but better. The kid might actually make it if he could get them to a real medical facility. More warriors came down into the crater. More humans, too. Owen's lieutenant appeared, face red with anger or fear or both. The officer reached for Owen's shoulder, ready to pull him back. No, Owen said. Did not shout it. Did not plead. Just stated it as fact. I'm not leaving them. The lieutenant stopped, stared at Owen like he had gone insane. Maybe he had. Maybe this whole war was insane. Owen looked up at the big Drolf warrior, the one called Drathkor. He pointed at Shul, then at his medical pack, then up at the crater's edge. Hospital, Owen said slowly. Medicine. Help. Drathkor's eyes narrowed. The warrior looked at the humans with their weapons, looked at his own soldiers, looked at Owen's hands, covered in Shul's blood, still working to save a life. The battlefield stayed silent. Waiting. Drathkor made a sound deep in his throat. Not a growl. Something else. He raised one massive hand, and every Drolf warrior on the battlefield lowered their weapons completely, set them on the ground. The gesture rippled outward like waves on water. The human lieutenant looked around, confused and suspicious. His finger stayed near his rifle's trigger. Owen met his eyes and shook his head slightly. Please, he thought. Please just wait. Lieutenant Shun, a voice called from above. A colonel Owen had never met was climbing down into the crater, flanked by 2 guards. The old man's uniform was dusty, his face lined with exhaustion. Stand down. All of you, weapons down. The lieutenant hesitated, then obeyed. The tension did not disappear, but it shifted, changed into something less immediately violent. Owen returned his attention to Shul. The young Drolf's breathing was more stable now. The bleeding had stopped, mostly, but they needed surgery, real equipment, a sterile environment. Owen had bought time, nothing more. Can we move them? Drathkor asked in broken human standard. His accent was thick, each word clearly painful to form. Owen blinked. He had not known any Drolf could speak the common language. Slowly, very slowly. They need a surgeon. Our ship, Drathkor said. He gestured upward, toward orbit. Medical bay. Our facilities are closer, the colonel said, stepping forward carefully. He kept his hands visible and empty. We can have them in surgery within the hour. Drathkor's eyes narrowed. His hand moved toward his sidearm, then stopped. The internal struggle showed clearly on his face. Trust the enemy with his child, or watch them die trying to reach a Drolf ship. Shul made a soft sound. Their hand was still gripping Owen's wrist. The young Drolf looked up at Drathkor and said something in their own language. The words were weak, but cleared as Drathkor's entire body went rigid. He stared at Shul for a long moment, then at Owen. You stay with them. You do not leave. I won't. Owen promised. I'm a medic. It's my job to keep them alive. Job. Drathkor repeated the word like he was tasting something strange. You do this for job. For money. Owen shook his head. I do this because nobody should die alone and scared. Especially not kids. Something changed in Drathkor's expression. The colonel was already calling for medical transport. Human soldiers started setting up a perimeter. Not defensive, just organized. Making space. The Drolf warriors watched, but did not interfere. Point 2 human medics arrived with a stretcher. Owen directed them, keeping one hand on Shul's shoulder the whole time. The young Drolf's eyes never left his face. Trust. Complete and terrifying trust. They lifted Shul carefully. The kid gasped in pain, but did not cry out. Brave. Too brave for someone so young. Drathkor walked beside the stretcher, his massive form tense. 3 other Drolf warriors followed. Family maybe, or close companions. Owen could not tell. The transport was a standard medical shuttle, cramped with all the extra bodies. Owen sat next to Shul, monitoring vitals. Drathkor stood over them both, too large for the human-sized space. He had to bend his neck and shoulders to fit. What? Drathkor asked suddenly. Why help enemy? Owen checked the flow before answering. Because war ends eventually. We both go home. But what we do during war, that stays with us forever. I can't save everyone, but I can save Shull. So I will. Humans are strange, Drathkor said. We were told you were ruthless, that you showed no mercy, that you would kill children. Some humans might, Owen admitted. Some Drolf might too. But most of us are just people trying to survive, trying to do the right thing when everything is wrong. The shuttle landed on the human command ship. Medical staff were waiting, already prepped for surgery. Owen rattled off Shull's status and what treatments he had administered. The doctors nodded, taking notes. They looked at the young Drolf with professional concern, not hatred. Just another patient that Drathkor tried to follow in his surgery. The head doctor, an older woman with gray hair, stopped him gently. You're too big for the operating room. You'll contaminate the sterile field. But we have an observation window. You can watch everything we do. The big warrior looked ready to argue. Shull reached out from the gurney, catching Drathkor's hand, said something soft in their language. Drathkor's shoulders slumped. He nodded. Owen started to follow the gurney, but the doctor shook her head. You did good work out there, medic. But you're exhausted and covered in blood. Go clean up. Get some food. We'll take it from here. I promised I would stay. Owen said Drathkor was watching this exchange. You keep promise, he said. It was not a question. Always, Owen replied. The doctor sighed. Fine. But you scrub improperly. Full decontamination. And you observe only. My operating room, my rules. 20 minutes later, Owen stood in the observation gallery, wearing clean scrubs. Drathkor was there too, along with the other Drolf warriors. The colonel had arrived as well, with several advisors. Everyone watched as the surgical team worked on Shull. This was not supposed to happen, the colonel said quietly. The war was almost over. We had them beaten. You did beat us, Drathkor replied, his eyes never leaving the window. We knew it was over. We were fighting to delay, to give our civilian ships time to escape. Escape from what? Owen asked. Drathkor's jaw clenched. From the Ossik. They hired us to fight you. Promised us new territory. Instead, they used us as cannon fodder. They planned to destroy our colony ships once we were all dead. Take our worlds for themselves. The colonel went very still. The Ossik are our allies. No, Drathkor said. They're nobody's allies. They play all sides. Create wars. Profit from chaos. Below, the surgical team was closing Shull's wounds. The operation had gone well. The young Drolf would live. Owen felt something shift in his chest. Understanding. Terrible understanding. This whole war. It was engineered. Drathkor finally looked away from his child. Looked at Owen instead. Yes. And now my people are dying for a lie. The silence in the observation room was different from the silence on the battlefield. This one burned. The recovery room was quiet except for the steady beep of monitors. Shull lay in a hospital bed, their scales looking brighter now that proper fluids were running through their system. Owen sat in a chair beside them, updating medical charts. Drathkor stood near the window, staring out at the stars. The surgery went perfectly, Owen said for the third time. Shull will need rest, but there should be no permanent damage. Drathkor nodded, but said nothing. The big warrior had barely spoken since learning the truth about the Ossik manipulation. Owen could see the weight of it crushing him. How many Drolf had died fighting a war built on lies? Shull's eyes opened slowly. They looked around the room with confusion, then fear. Owen was there immediately, placing a gentle hand on the young Drolf's shoulder. Easy. You're safe. The surgery is done. You're going to be fine. Shull's gaze found Drathkor. The young one said something in their language, voice weak but urgent. Drathkor moved to the bedside, responding in the same tone. The conversation went back and forth. Owen could not understand the words, but the emotions were clear. Relief, love, questions. Finally, Shull looked at Owen. You saved me, they said in rough human standard. Why? Owen had been asked this question many times now. Each time, he struggled to find words that made sense. Because you needed help. That's enough reason. I am enemy, Shull said. We killed your people. You're a kid who got hurt in a war you probably didn't start, Owen replied. That's all that mattered when I found you. Shoal's eyes were so human in their confusion. Our teachers said humans have no honor, that you fight without caring about the sacred laws of combat. Drathkor made a harsh sound. Our teachers lied about many things. A knock on the door interrupted them. The colonel entered, followed by two Drolf warriors Owen recognized from the battlefield. Behind them came more human officers and what looked like a Drolf delegation. Too many people for the small room. We need to talk, the colonel said. All of us. They moved to a larger conference room. She'll insisted on coming despite the doctor's protests. Owen helped them into a wheelchair, careful of the surgical sites. Drathkor pushed the chair himself, unwilling to let anyone else touch his child. The conference room had a large table. Humans on one side, Drolf on the other. Owen wheeled Shoal to a spot between the two groups and sat beside them. Drathkor stood behind them like a protective wall. Intelligence has confirmed Drathkor's information. The colonel began. The Ossic Dominion has been playing both sides. They fed us false information about Drolf aggression. They told the Drolf that we planned to exterminate their species. A Drolf elder with silver scales spoke up. They promised us worlds, resources, protection. Instead, they destroyed our credibility and turned the galaxy against us. They are moving a fleet into this sector now, a human admiral added. Our ships are damaged from fighting you. Your forces are nearly destroyed. The Ossic plan to eliminate both our fleets and claim this entire region. How long until they arrive? Drathkor asked. 36 hours. Maybe less. The room fell silent. The math was simple and brutal. Neither side could win alone. Together, they might have a chance. But trust did not rebuild in 36 hours. Not after years of war. She'll raise one hand. Everyone looked at the young Drolf, surprised. May I speak? The elder gestured permission. Shoal's voice was quiet but steady. I watched humans and Drolf kill each other for 3 days. I thought I would die on that battlefield. I thought I deserved to die, because that is what warriors do. We fight. We die with honor. She looked up at Owen. Then this human knelt beside me. He stopped fighting to save me. His people were still shooting. My people were still shooting. He could have died, but he stayed. He promised I would be okay. The young Drolf turned to address the whole room. Among our people, the young are considered sacred truth-tellers. We have not yet learned to lie well. So I tell you this truth. If humans can show mercy to their enemy's child in the middle of battle, they are not our real enemy. Drathkor placed a hand on Shoal's shoulder. My child speaks wisdom. The Ossic manipulated us into this war. They are the true enemy. I say we fight them together. Your people killed thousands of ours, a human general said quietly. How do we tell their families we are now allies with their murderers? Your people killed thousands of ours, the Drolf elder replied. We faced the same question. Owen stood up. He had no rank here, no authority, but he spoke anyway. You tell them the truth, that we were all victims of the Ossic's manipulation, that we can choose to keep killing each other until the Ossic finish the job, or we can survive together. The colonel studied Owen for a long moment. You really believe that? I believe she'll deserve to grow up, Owen said simply. I believe all our kids deserve that. Human and Drolf both. The Ossic want to take that away from everyone. So yes, I believe we fight together. The admiral pulled up a star chart. If we coordinate our remaining forces, we could set up a defensive formation here. Use the moon's gravity well as an anchor point. A Drolf military leader moved forward, studying the display. Our ships have better shields. We take the vanguard position. Your weapons have longer range. You provide fire support from protected positions. Our medical facilities are more advanced, another human officer added. We can treat both species. Our soldiers are trained in close combat, a Drolf warrior said. If they board our ships, we can defend better in tight quarters. The planning continued. Owen watched humans and Drolf work together, speaking the language of tactics and strategy. Finding common ground in survival. She looked up at Owen. You did this. You changed everything. Owen shook his head. No, you did. By trusting me when you had no reason to. That took more courage than I had. Drathkor was listening. In our culture, when someone saves a life, they become responsible for that life. You are now pack-bound to Shul, to our family. Do you understand what this means? Owen did not. Not really. But he nodded anyway. I understand enough. Then you are one of us now, Drathkor said. We protect our own. The combined human-Drolf medical station was chaos organized into something functional. Owen moved between beds, checking patients from both species. His translator earpiece helped with the Drolf language, though he was starting to pick up common phrases without it that a Drolf healer named Kresh worked beside him. She was older, her scales dulled with age, but her hands were steady and skilled. They had developed a rhythm over the past 20 hours. Owen would handle the delicate surgical work. Kresh knew which traditional Drolf medicines could supplement human drugs. This one needs more pain medication, Kresh said, pointing to a human soldier with a leg injury. He tries to hide it, but I can smell his distress. Owen adjusted the dosage. The Drolf sense of smell was remarkable. Kresh could detect infections before human equipment registered them. She had saved 3 lives that way already. Shul appeared in the doorway, moving slowly but without the wheelchair now. The young Drolf had healed faster than Owen expected. Drolf physiology was resilient. Drathkor followed close behind, as always. You should be resting, Owen said. I rested for 8 hours, Shul replied. Now I want to help. You just had major surgery. So did half the people in this room. They are working. I can too. Owen sighed. Stubborn. The kid was impossibly stubborn. Fina, you can organize supply inventory. Nothing heavy. Nothing that requires bending or stretching. Shul's eyes brightened. They moved to the supply area, studying the labels with intense focus. Drathkor watched for a moment, then approached Owen. You are good with them, the big warrior said. Patient. Kind. They're a good kid, Owen replied, checking another patient's vitals. Smart. Brave. You should be proud. I am. But I'm also afraid. Drathkor lowered his voice. The Ossic fleet will arrive in 15 hours. Our forces are ready, but we are still outnumbered. Many will die. Owen had been trying not to think about that. The battle would be brutal. Even with the Alliance, the odds were not good. Then we make sure we save as many as we can. Alarms blared across the station. Owen's radio crackled to life. The Admiral's voice came through, tense and urgent. All personnel, battle stations. Ossic scouts have entered the system. Main fleet right behind them. We have less time than we thought. The medical bay erupted into controlled chaos. Patients who could move were being evacuated to safer sections. Those 2 injured to move were being secured. Owen grabbed his emergency field kit. I need to get to the forward position, he told Kresh. Can you handle things here? I have been a healer for 40 years, she said calmly. Go. I will manage. Drathkor was already moving toward the door. She'll try to follow, but the big warrior stopped them. A quick conversation in their language. Shul argued, gesturing frantically. Drathkor remained firm. They want to fight, Drathkor explained to Owen. I told them they will stay here and protect the wounded. It is an important duty. Shul looked frustrated, but nodded. The young Drolf understood duty, at least. Owen and Drathkor ran through the corridors. Other soldiers moved with them. Human and Drolf, no longer enemies. Just people trying to survive. They reached the forward hangar where drop ships were loading with assault teams. Medic Harris, a lieutenant, called out. You are assigned to Team 3. We are boarding the enemy command ship once the fighting starts. Boarding? Owen asked. That is insane. That is the plan. The Ossic shields are too strong for our weapons. But if we can get soldiers onto their ships, we could disable them from inside. Drathkor growled his approval. Close combat. Good. We excel at this. The dropship launched with a violence that pressed Owen into his seat. Through the small window, he could see the Ossic fleet. Massive ships, dark and angular. Their weapons already firing. The combined human-Drolf defense fleet scattered, returning fire with everything they had. An explosion rocked the drop ship. Red emergency lights flickered on. The pilot cursed but kept them flying. They dove toward the Ossic command vessel, dodging weapons fire that turned space bright with deadly energy. 30 seconds, the pilot announced. The assault team checked their gear. Wulbo Muns. 8 Drolf. all of them looking scared but determined. Owen gripped his medical pack. He was not a soldier. He did not carry a rifle, but he had his role to play. They hit the Ossic hull with a metal shriek. Cutting torches burned through the armor. The team poured into the enemy ship, weapons firing. The Ossic inside were tall, insect-like creatures with 4 arms and black eyes. They screamed and fired back with plasma weapons. Owen stayed low, moving with the group. A human soldier went down, hit in the shoulder. Owen was there immediately, dragging them behind cover. The wound was bad, but not fatal. He worked fast, sealing the injury and administering anti-shock medication that Drathkor and 3 other Drolth warriors pushed forward, their natural armor absorbing hits that would have killed humans. They fought with a ferocity that was terrifying to watch. The Ossic fell back, unprepared for this combined assault. More soldiers went down. Owen moved between them, keeping people alive. A Drolth warrior lost an arm to plasma fire. Owen sealed the stump, fighting his own horror at the injury. The warrior nodded thanks and kept fighting with their remaining limbs. They reached the command center. The Ossic commander was a massive creature, twice the size of the others. It screamed orders in a language the translators could not process. Human and Drolth soldiers fired together, overwhelming its shields. When the commander fell, something changed. The Ossic forces began to retreat. Not surrender. Retreat. Their ships were pulling back, abandoning the fight. "They are running," Drathkor said, disbelief in his voice. "We won." The lieutenant was on the radio, confirming the same thing. The Ossic fleet was breaking formation, jumping to faster-than-light speeds. The battle was over. Owen sat down heavily, surrounded by wounded soldiers for both species. They had won. Somehow, impossibly, they had won. That the human soldier reached over and clasped hand with a Drolth warrior. Both were injured. Both were exhausted. Both were alive. Owen pulled out his medical supplies and got back to work. The fighting was done. Now came the healing. 3 weeks after the battle, Owen found himself in a very different kind of war zone. The diplomatic conference room on the human capital world was filled with representatives from a dozen species. Everyone wanted to understand how humans and Drolth had gone from enemies to allies overnight. Owen sat uncomfortably in his dress uniform. He hated formal events. Give him a medical emergency any day over politicians asking careful questions. Beside him, Drathkor looked equally uncomfortable, his large frame crammed into a chair meant for smaller species. Shul sat between them, looking far more at ease than either adult. The young Drolth had become something of a celebrity, the child whose near death had stopped a war. News services across the galaxy had Boa broadcast their story. Medic Harris, an ambassador from the Tellan Confederacy, said, "Can you explain your decision to treat an enemy combatant during active battle? Surely you understood this violated military protocol." Owen had answered this question 50 times. With respect, Ambassador, it did not violate anything. Human military doctrine includes provisions for treating enemy wounded. I did what I was trained to do. But the emotional component, the ambassador pressed. You went beyond medical necessity. You bonded with the patient. I treated a dying kid, Owen said flatly. There is no such thing as beyond medical necessity in that situation. Either you help or you watch them die. I chose to help. A Drolth representative spoke up. And this is common among human medical personnel. It should be common among all medical personnel, Owen replied. Life has value. Period. It does not stop having value because someone is on the other side of conflict. The conference continued for hours. More questions, more analysis. Scholars trying to reduce what happened to data points and strategic theory. Owen wanted to scream at them. It had not been complicated. Someone needed help. He helped. Everything else followed from that simple choice. Finally, they were dismissed. Owen escaped to a quiet garden outside the conference hall. He sat on a bench, closing his eyes and enjoying the silence. You do not like these meetings, Schultz said, appearing beside him. Owen opened one eye. That obvious? You make the same face my teachers do when I ask too many questions. Schultz sat down, moving carefully. The young Drolth was still healing, though they hid it well. How are you feeling? Owen asked. Any pain? Some, but it is getting better. She was quiet for a moment. Owen, can I ask you something? Always. Why did you really save me? And do not say it was just your job. I know it was more than that. Owen considered the question. Really considered it. When I was younger, maybe your age, my sister got sick. Really sick. The doctors said there was nothing they could do. We should make her comfortable and say goodbye. What happened? One doctor disagreed. She said there was an experimental treatment. Risky. Might not work. But she tried anyway. Worked day and night to save my sister. Owen smiled at the memory. It worked. My sister lived. Because one person decided that trying was worth it, even when everyone else had given up. So you became a medic to be like her, Schultz said. I became a medic because I learned that one person who refuses to give up can change everything. When I saw you in that crater, I saw my sister. I saw every patient I have ever tried to save. I cannot walk away. Schultz reached over and took Owen's hand. The young Drolf's scales felt warm and dry. In our culture, you would be considered my parent now, the one who gave me a second life. Drathkor is my blood parent, but you are my life parent. I do not know what that means, Owen admitted. It means you are family. Always. No matter what. Drathkor found them a few minutes later. The big warrior looked tired. The council has made their decision. The Human Drolf Alliance will be formalized. Our peoples will help each other rebuild. That is good news, Owen said. There's more. They want to create a joint medical corps. Humans and Drolf working together to provide aid across the galaxy. They want you to help lead it. Owen blinked. Me? I am just a medic. You are the medic who started this alliance, Drathkor said. Your name means something now. Both our peoples trust you. I do not want to be a symbol, Owen protested. I just want to help people. Then help people, Schultz said. Teach others to do what you did. Show them that compassion is not weakness. Owen looked at both of them. Drathkor, the warrior who had become a friend. Schultz, the child who had somehow become family. They believed in this. Believed in him. Okay, he said, but I am not giving speeches. I will train medics. That is what I am good at. Fair enough, Drathkor agreed. The joint medical training facility opened 6 months later. It was built on neutral ground, a station halfway between human and Drolf space. Owen found himself teaching classes to students from both species, along with others who joined the program. Kresh, the Drolf healer, became his co-director. Together, they developed a curriculum that combined human medical technology with Drolf traditional healing. Students learned to treat injuries across dozens of species. More importantly, they learned that all life deserved care and respect. Schultz enrolled in the program as soon as they were old enough. The young Drolf studied with intense focus, determined to honor the second chance they had been given. Other young people followed, children of soldiers from both sides. Growing up together, learning together. One day, Owen was reviewing student reports when Schultz appeared in his office doorway. I passed my field medicine exam, Schultz announced. Owen looked up, pride warming his chest. Top of your class, I heard. I had a good teacher. Schultz paused. There is something else. The Drolf Council wants to send a mission to the outer colonies. Medical aid and supplies. They asked if I would go. As part of the team, Owen felt the familiar worry of a parent watching their child leave. It will be dangerous out there. You taught me that helping people is worth the danger. Owen stood and pulled Schultz into a hug. The young Drolf was taller now, almost as tall as Owen himself. When had that happened? Then go. Make me proud, but come back safe. I will. I promise. Later, watching Schultz's ship depart, Owen thought about that day on the battlefield. The moment when everything changed. He had not known what would come from saving one life. The Alliance, the medical corps, the thousands of students learning compassion. That Drathkor stood beside him at the window. You changed the galaxy. We all did, Owen replied. Every person who chose mercy over revenge, who chose to build instead of destroy. Still, Drathkor said, it started with you. Maybe it did. Or maybe it started with Schultz trusting a stranger. Or with Drathkor choosing to believe in that trust. The beginning did not matter anymore. What mattered was what they built from it. 15 years passed like water through open hands. Owen stood at the memorial site, his hair grayer now, his face marked with the years of service. The crater where he had found Shoal was preserved exactly as it had been, surrounded by gardens from 100 different worlds. The memorial itself was simple, a curved wall with names carved into it. Human and Drolf who died in the war. Not separated by species. Just names. Just people who deserved to be remembered. At the center stood a statue. Owen always felt uncomfortable looking at it. The statue showed a human medic kneeling beside a young Drolf, hands working to save a life. It was supposed to be him and Shoal, though the artist had made them both look more heroic than Owen remembered feeling that day. The inscription read, "Here, war ended when one chose mercy." Footsteps approached behind him. Owen did not need to turn around. He knew that walk. "I thought I would find you here," Shoal said. Owen turned and smiled. Shoal was fully grown now, tall and strong. They wore the uniform of the Joint Medical Corps, decorated with service medals from a dozen different humanitarian missions. Pride swelled in Owen's chest every time he saw them. "Just thinking," Owen said. 15 years today. "I know. That is why I came." Shoal moved to stand beside him, looking at the memorial. "Do you ever regret it? Everything that happened because you stopped to help me?" "Never," Owen said without hesitation. "Do you? Only that so many had to die before we figured out we should have been friends all along." Shoal pointed at the names on the wall. "I read every one of these when I need to remember why the work matters." "That is a lot of names," Owen said quietly. "Yes, but fewer than there would have been if the war continued." Shoal turned to face him. "I have news. The Galactic Council approved our proposal." Owen raised his eyebrows. "The peacekeeping medical teams?" "Yes. We could deploy mixed-species medical units to conflict zones. Not to take sides, just to save lives. Exactly what you did for me." Shoal's eyes gleamed with excitement. "They want you to oversee the program." "I am too old for that," Owen protested. "I should be retiring, not starting new projects." "You are 53. Humans live to be over 100 now with modern medicine. You have decades left." Shoal grinned. "Besides, Drathkor said you would say that. He told me to remind you that you never let him use age as an excuse to slow down." Owen laughed. Drathkor was serving on the council now, his battle scars and wisdom making him a respected voice for peace. The old warrior still found time to visit, usually to argue with Owen about proper recovery protocols for injured soldiers. "Where's the first deployment?" Owen asked. "The Krelvas conflict in the Rimward sectors. Both sides have agreed to allow medical teams on the ground. They specifically requested human Drolf teams. Our reputation precedes us." Owen thought about it. Another war zone. More wounded. More chances to make a difference. "Okay, but I want experienced people on those teams. No one fresh out of training." "Already done. I will be leading one of the teams." "Absolutely not." Shoal crossed their arms. "You cannot stop me. I am qualified. I have more field experience than most of the other candidates." "You're also my responsibility," Owen said. "I'm not sending you into a war zone. You do not get to decide that." "I'm not a child anymore, Owen." They stared at each other. The same argument they had been having in various forms for 15 years. Shoal wanting to prove themselves. Owen wanted to keep them safe. Finally, Owen sighed. "Fine, but you take a full support team, and you check in every day." "Every day," Shoal protested. "Every day. You are overprotective. You are my family. I'm allowed to be overprotective." Shoal's expression softened. "I know, and I love you for it. But you taught me that some things are worth the risk. Helping people, showing compassion even when it is dangerous. I learned that from you." Owen pulled Shoal into a hug. "I know. I just wish I had taught you to be more careful too. Where'll be the fun in that?" They stood together at the memorial for a while longer. Other visitors came and went. Some left flowers. Some just stood in silence. Human and Drolf and species from across the galaxy. All of them touched by the story of what happened here that a young human child approached with their parents. The child could not have been more than 6. They looked up at the statue with wide eyes. "Is that really what happened?" the child asked their mother. "Yes," the mother said. "A long time ago, when humans and Drolf were fighting, one human medic chose to save a Drolf child instead of leaving them to die." "Why?" The child asked. The mother smiled. Because he understood that all lives matter. That compassion is stronger than hate. The child thought about this. I want to be a medic too when I grow up. Owen and she'll exchange glances. This happened more and more lately. Children inspired by the story. Choosing careers in medicine and peacekeeping. Building a galaxy where war was not the first answer to every disagreement. That is the real memorial, she'll said quietly. Not the statue. Not the names on the wall. It is all the people who chose to be better because of what happened here. Owen nodded. Your generation will do things we never imagined. Build peace in places we thought impossible. Our generation, Scholl corrected. You are not retiring, remember? You just agreed to run the peacekeeping medical program. I did not agree. You manipulated me into it. Same thing. They left the memorial together, walking through the gardens. Flowers from Earth grew beside plants from the Drolf homeworld, creating something beautiful from what was once barren ground. Owen's communicator buzzed. A message from the medical training facility. New students were arriving next week. Human, Drolf, and 3 other species. All of them wanted to learn how to heal instead of harm. The work never ends, does it? Owen said. No, Scholl agreed. But that is okay, because every person we save, every life we protect, that is one more chance for the galaxy to be better. They reached Owen's transport. Scholl was heading back to prepare for the deployment. Owen had student orientations to plan. The work continued. Different than 15 years ago, but the same in the ways that mattered. Before Scholl left, they turned back. Owen, thank you for everything. Thank you for trusting me, Owen replied. That day in the crater, you could have been afraid. You could have fought. Instead, you let me help. That took courage I did not have. We both had courage, Scholl said. We just showed it in different ways. Owen watched Scholl's transport lift off, heading toward the stars, toward new missions, new challenges, new opportunities to show that compassion could change the galaxy. That he looked back at the memorial one last time. The statue caught the light, casting long shadows. But the gardens were full of life and color. Growth from old battlegrounds. That was the real story. Not the moment of crisis, but what they built from it. What they continued to build every day. Owen smiled and headed home. Tomorrow, new students would arrive. The work would continue. And somewhere in the galaxy, people would choose mercy over violence because